We're going to make fun of all the major Democrats tonight, and that's my commitment to you. We're going to make fun of Hillary. We're going to make fun of Tulsi, but also show you pictures. That's awesome, right? Joe Biden, AOC, and finally, we're going to talk about Derek Jeter's Hall of Fame vote and why it matters to you. All that's coming up right now on I'm Right. Well, Hillary Clinton and Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders and all of them, they're just going to have to get in a big pile and wrestle it out, which actually would be terrible. But anyway, the truth of the matter is this: Hillary Clinton's getting sued. Hillary's throwing mud at Bernie. Bernie's throwing mud back at Hillary. And it's all absolutely fantastic because, ladies and gentlemen, if Democrats are fighting each other, or if they're fighting each other, that's easy for me to say. Shut up. If they're fighting each other, they're not fighting Donald Trump. They're not fighting the Republican Party. They're not fighting against the things that you care about. Hillary Clinton, of course, took a massive shot at Bernie Sanders and said, quote, he was in Congress for years. He had one senator support him. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. He got nothing done. He was a career politician. It's all just baloney, and I feel so bad that people got sucked into it. Well, let's clarify something here real quick. That's true. I mean, it is true. This is a well-known fact, and it's not just Hillary Clinton that said this. Anybody who's been on the Hill, who's worked on the Hill, I know a whole bunch of congressmen, I know a couple senators, I know 8 million staffers up there. Nobody has a great thing to say about Bernie Sanders. You remember that New York Times interview we played for you? I'm not going to play it again, where he flat out says to the person who he's trying to get an endorsement from, I'm not going to call you on your birthday. That's Bernie. He's a mean old man. Look, if you were a communist for 800 years like Bernie's been, you'd be mean too. It creates bitterness. That's part of the reason he is a communist. So look, that's true. Nobody does like Bernie Sanders. I would argue, though, isn't that part of his appeal to his people? His people are kind of the rebel crowd. His people are similar to the Trump hardcore people on their side. No, not obviously in policy views, but they're the hardcore rebels. They think everybody hates them. They like that their guy tells everybody, screw you, and that's what Bernie Sanders does. So look, none of this really hurts Bernie with his people, I promise you that. Well, of course, if Hillary Clinton's going to be taking shots at Bernie Sanders, somebody is going to go not interrupt Bernie combing his hair and ask him about it.
Secretary Clinton, as you know, said that as a senator you got nothing done and that no one likes you. What's your response to that?
On a good day, my wife likes me, so let's clear the air on that one. Look, right now, today, I am dealing with impeachment.
But Senator, Secretary Clinton said was about your supporters and criticizing them.
Look. Secretary Clinton is entitled to, her point of view.
Why do you think the secretary is still talking about 2016?
That is a good question. Ask him. Okay, thanks very much.
You see, he has that old crotchety way about him. That's how he treats people. That's how he treats reporters. That's how he treats everybody. I'm not going to complain about a Capitol Hill reporter being treated like the bottom of somebody's shoe, because that's what most of them are. But that's how he treats people. Look. And he does that hand thing where he waves you off. You know, try that with your wife. They love that. Oh, I got it. That's what he does. That's how he treats everybody. The guy's not well thought of. We're not going to make too much of it. This part I did love of the story, though. Hillary is always a bit of a sensitive type, which I always find to be fascinating. These people, I mean, think about Hillary Clinton's life, right? She was a former first lady. She's a former United States senator from one of the most powerful states in the union. She's the former Secretary of State. I mean, granted, she had to steal and kill a lot of people to get there, but she did it, right? That's Hillary Clinton. Why is she so sensitive? Why is she so angry? Why is she so bitter? Who feels that they're that entitled to the presidency to still be bitter about it all? Because she heard it yesterday. As soon as these quotes came out, whoo boy, Bernie Sanders' online army, they've come for me before. It's hilarious watching the little hippies, get high and start yelling. But they came for Hillary Clinton and they were trashing her all day long because she was attacking their God King. And Hillary responds. Who takes the time to respond to all Bernie Sanders people? But Hillary, of course she does. She said, I thought everyone wanted my authentic, unvarnished views. But to be serious, the number one priority for our country and world is retiring Trump. And as I always have, I will do whatever I can to support our nominee. Look, the best part of that is the beginning. I thought everyone wanted my authentic, unvarnished views. You know what that is? That's Hillary Clinton, the ex who still can't get over it. The one who got rejected who still can't get over it. That was her, who has heard too many times, at least Donald Trump was honest. At least Donald Trump's honest. Donald Trump is honest. And Hillary's so sick of that and so bitter about the whole Trump thing. And let me clarify something, Hillary. One, voters claim they want honesty. That's the biggest lie in the world. But to be honest, in the defense of voters, it's the lie people tell themselves. I just want people to be honest. I want them to be honest. I wish they'd stop lying to me, buddy. Believe me when I tell you this, them lying to you is much better than them telling you the truth. Do you want somebody running for office saying, I'm going to use this position to personally enrich myself, and I frankly don't care about my district. I don't care about my constituents. I'm going to milk the taxpayer for all they're worth for about 16 to 18 years. Then I'm going to ride off in the sunset, and I don't care about any of you. Do you really want them to say that? Let me tell you something, pal. That's how most of them think. All right, well, Tulsi Gabbard felt like this was all very childish and beneath her. Here's a Tulsi video.
Look, it's time to grow up. You know, this isn't high school. We're talking about real challenges that our country needs to address and the need for real leadership to focus on them, not on what's going on in Washington and the schoolyard cliques or whatever else it may be. There are real issues that people are struggling with, and they're wondering, why are our leaders not working for us?
Sorry. Anyway, Donald Trump, as he always does, he got in on the action. You know what? Before we go to the video, I just want to say, I love the fact that Trump still talks about Hillary, because it's so clear he does it only because it bothers her so much. She hates him so much, and it bothers her so much. So Trump always is not afraid to just stick that needle in there. Here's the president.
I mean, when Hillary says nobody likes him, nobody likes her. That's why she lost. I mean, nobody liked her. She had every advantage. She had this big machine behind her. She had the Obama. She had everybody behind, and it wasn't even close. You look at 306 to 223. She's the one that people don't like. I mean, I think if I had my choice in terms of personality, I might take him over her.
And look, he's right. The truth of the matter is, Hillary, it would stink to be married to somebody who's so much more charismatic than you are. You've seen this with brother and sister before. When people have different gifts, they have different abilities. And whatever you think of her husband, President Slick Willie Clinton, the truth of the matter is Bill Clinton has charisma dripping out of his pores. People like him. People want to be around him. People want to talk to him. Bill Clinton is famous for walking in a massive room full of people, walking up to everybody, looking them in the eye, shaking their hands, and remembering their name and making them feel, at least for a brief moment, like they are the most important person in the world. If you had to build a politician, only one who didn't take rides on Epstein's jet, you would build Bill Clinton. He's excellent at it. Hillary is awful. I mean, she's just awful. I'm not trying to be mean. She's terrible. People genuinely dislike her. She comes off like an angry grandma, and it only gets worse when she tries to raise her voice. I feel like somebody's chasing me off the back porch with a switch. That's Hillary Clinton. She's not a likable person. She's not a charismatic person. And when you're in politics and somebody tells you you suck at politics, that could be a bitter pill to swallow. That's just the bottom line. Look, you can't do everything you want to do. That's what your mommy tells you. That's not the truth. The truth of the matter is we all have limitations. I'm 6'8". I'm never going to be a pilot. Jackie Chan's never going to play in the NBA. We have our limitations in life. And that's just the way it has to be. Now, Hillary might be in a little bit of legal trouble, assuming everybody lives through the trial. She had this to say about Tulsi Gabbard. Do you remember this?
They're also going to do third party again. And I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of sites and bots and other ways of supporting her so far. And that's assuming Jill Stein will give it up, which she might not, because she's also a Russian asset. Yeah, she's a Russian asset. I mean, totally. And so they know they can't win without a third party candidate. And so I don't know who it's going to be, but I will guarantee you they'll have a vigorous third-party challenge in the key states that they most need it.
Well, Tulsi Gabbard, as we know, she's a military person. She responded with an ad, and she responded with something else today. I'll tell you about that in a second. Here's her ad first.
But if they can falsely portray me as a traitor, then they can do it to anyone. And in fact, that's exactly the message that they want to get across to you. That if you stand up against Hillary and the party power brokers, if you stand up to the rich and powerful elite and the war machine, they will destroy you and discredit your message. But here is the truth. They will not intimidate us. They will not silence us.
Pretty much par for the course for the Clintons. And today it came out, Gabbard is suing Hillary Clinton, suing her for defamation, for calling her a Russian asset. And I actually kind of like this going forward. I like the idea that at least some of these politicians are going to be held in check for the horrible things they constantly throw out about around other people. Finally, Hulu is coming out with a documentary about Hillary Clinton. Take a look at this. It looks pretty hard-hitting.
I want to vote for a woman, just not that woman.
Her greatest strength is her greatest weakness.
She's unlikable because she's unlikable.
She's so smart, people always believe there is some deviousness.
I provoke strong opinions. What you see is what you get.
Marker.
I said, I really want to marry you, but you shouldn't marry me.
Chelsea put herself between us and held both our hands, trying to keep us together. You know, you do me better than I do me. I want to push the envelope as far as we can push it. If I said, back up, you creep, would I sound angry?
One of the most admired and one of the most vilified women in American history.
Somebody asked me, what do you want on your gravestone? I said, she's neither as good nor as bad as some people say about her.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up journalism in America right there. Well, we've got all kinds of Elizabeth Warren stuff. We have Derek Jeter stuff. I'm going to make fun of AOC. Stick around for a lot more, I'm right. But first, let us talk about betdsi.com, specifically betdsi.com/Jesse. One of the things I love the most about them is they have the fastest payouts in the industry. Now, that may not sound like anything. Have you ever tried online gambling with other sites? Well, I mean, look, we might need a couple weeks to release the... I mean, I really can't... Do you have time to wait? I've got to move some money around. Not at betdsi.com. They've been doing it for so long. That's why they're the most trusted brand in the industry. betdsi.com/Jesse. And look, you can bet on everything. And I mean everything at the place. It's not just football. We've only got one more game left. Make sure you get a little money on the Super Bowl. But betdsi.com/Jesse, football, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, politics. How much fun would it be right now with the Democrat primary being neck and neck? Put a little money down on something. Put your money where your mouth is. Get a little bit more invested, because even politics can get boring unless, of course, you're watching me. You can even bet on reality TV. betdsi.com/Jesse. The promo code, listen up, Jesse120. JESSE120. That's the promo code. Go to betdsi.com/Jesse. You know, there's a funny thing out there about how oftentimes your best quality can become your worst quality. That benefits to you can become negatives to you. This is true in all walks of life. Things that you think are wonderful, things that in general are wonderful, in the end, they can end up biting you in the rear end. We've all heard stories about pick your professional athlete, you know? And what do they always say about the guy? He's obsessed. He lives in the gym. He eats, sleeps, and breathes football or basketball or whatever you're talking about. And that's awesome when you're watching him on Sunday, right? My goodness, the guy's amazing. Look at him. Look at what he's done for himself. Oftentimes, that guy's not a good family guy. Now, look, I'm certainly not father or husband of the year over here, but the guy who lives at the gym, who eats, sleeps, and breathes football, oftentimes doesn't have much time left for the wife and kids. Everything has a negative to it. Everything does. When it comes to Democrats, it is a huge benefit, by anybody's estimation, a huge benefit to have vast portions of the culture in your back pocket. You own the United States media. You own Hollywood. You own the music industry. You own the education system. You own it all. Apparently, you own the bureaucracy and the FBI. If you're a Democrat, life is good, and that is good. Don't get me wrong, that's a huge net positive, and if that option were given to Republicans, they should take it any second. But there is a negative to it, and what is that negative? If you're a Democrat, especially a Washington, D.C. Democrat, or somebody who exists in that world, you never, ever, ever have to leave your bubble of people who simply tell you what you're doing is perfect. You know what? Be radical. That's what we all want, right? That's what you want, Professor? Oh, sounds good. Oh, musician, you agree, right? Oh, it's an actress. It's an award show. You agree, right? Oh, your son came home. He learned that in social studies? Well, clearly everyone agrees. If you're a Democrat, you never, ever, ever, unless you choose to, you never have to confront something that challenges your worldview. That's a huge difference between people on the left and right. If you're on the right, you exist in that world. It's everywhere you look. You can't escape it even if you wanted to. You'd have to move to the mountains and bury yourself in a hole in the ground. Now, what am I talking about? Specifically right now, I'm talking about Democrats and their position on illegal immigration. We all remember that debate, that Democrat debate moment from a few months back, where the moderator asked all the candidates up on stage, do you think we should be providing health care to illegal immigrants? Now, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, or the people who decide elections are relatively, non-political person, but you vote. The way to answer that question is the biggest no-brainer in the world. Normal people who aren't radical leftists all say, well, no, that's insane. No, that's insane. What did every single Democrat on that stage do when asked if they would provide health care for illegal immigrants? Oh, I will. You remember, the picture's famous now. All their hands are raised. This disconnect between Democrats and illegal immigration and how the American people think about it is really a net negative for them. You know, at one point in time in this country, the Democrat Party was the working class party. That's how they were thought of. Of course, my dad's in the steel union. The Democrats are there for Democrat this, Democrat that. Let's say you're a blue-collar union guy in the Midwest. Do you like that when you see every Democrat on stage raise their hand and say, well, yeah, free health care for illegals? You're a black person in maybe a bad urban center, certainly not an uncommon tale in America. Do you love it that illegal immigrants are going to be welcomed by the Democrat Party to flood your neighborhoods and take your jobs? Do you think it's an accident that black unemployment is at record lows right now, just as Donald Trump comes in and cracks down on illegal immigration? Probably not an accident, right? But Democrats can't seem to get their minds around it. They can't seem to understand this fact. Now, I don't expect Democrats to become, fire-breathing border hawks like me, but at least try to pull back a little bit. At least try to moderate your talk about, illegal immigrants are the saints. Americans kind of suck. Listen to Joe Biden talk about DACA recipients.
These kids have come. They've done well. Most of these kids, there's a lot of them, and they're not just Hispanic, they're Asian Pacific Islanders as well, and they, in fact, have done very, very well. In many cases, they're more Americans than most Americans are because they have done well in school. They believe the basic principles that we all share. I think they should be, in fact, put on a path to citizenship.
More American than most Americans are? Now, whatever you may feel about the DACA illegal aliens, more American than most Americans are? Who were you campaigning to, even if you believe that as a Democrat? You don't say that. You don't say that if you're thinking about the voters. You don't say that if you actually talk to the voters. This is the danger I talked about in the beginning, about the bubble. The problem is Joe Biden, he's 9,000 years old. He sits down at night. He turns on the television. He never hears anything but illegal immigrants, yay! Oh, wait, honey, we should watch the Oscars tonight. Okay, we'll do that. He turns it on. We need to open the borders. Oh, they agree. I agree. You see what I mean? He never hears something else. And the Rust Belt swing voters who decide presidential elections, they're rightfully horrified by talk like that. Horrified. Now, speaking of horrified, allow me to introduce you to the future leader of the Democrat Party, Ms. AOC.
In speaking about war, too, I've been thinking a lot about when Trump tweeted that he was going to target cultural sites in Iran.
Right.
Really what that really means. And really how that functions, not just in our society, but how it's also an extension of white supremacy, in that the goal of all of this is to erase history and to erase our understanding.
White supremacy. Whew. People, this is the issue with every single movement. It's not just the civil rights movement or the women's rights movement or, the LGBT bully mob we have today. It exists on the right, too. The same thing happened to the Tea Party movement. Anytime you see a movement of any kind, movements will eventually turn into scams. Movements turn into grifts. There's not one that has gone a different direction. Anytime a group of people join together for a common cause, the Me Too movement was maybe the worst at this. We joined together for a good cause, a common cause. Let's stop sexual assault against women. Let's advance the cause of black people. Let's advance the cause of women. The Tea Party, let's stop spending. Let's get government under control. All these movements are fine. All these movements are good. But they all turn into scams because people group up and then scammers jump in and take advantage of the message to advance themselves. There is no greater example of this than this. Everything is white supremacy. Everything is racism. Everything is nationalism. Do you know what people do now? I mean, not in your circles, but not in public, but in private, when people hear the words racism. Oh, that's racism. He's racist. Oh, clearly this is racist. That's racist. You know what every single person does now? Every one of them, even though they don't admit it. Everyone goes, why wouldn't they? It's everywhere. It's everything. So if it's everything, then it's nothing. If everything is white supremacy, if everything is race, then nothing is. And you know what? That's not fair to people who have actually gone through it, to people who do suffer through it in the times it does take place today, because racism always exists, has always existed, will always exist. It's the nature of man. But why aren't the people who are supposedly, anti-racism activists, why aren't they all over AOC for this? You see, that's why movements fail, people, because movements fail to keep their own people in check. They fail to keep the discipline of their own message. The people piling on AOC for this idiocy should not be people like me on the right. It should be Al Sharpton. Where's Al Sharpton's statement against AOC about how ridiculous it was? Silent, right? Sounds like a library in here. You won't hear a word, and that's why the movement dies. That's why the movement dies, and that's why every single person rolls their eyes when they hear it. Because it's been so watered down, what does it mean now? I don't bat my eyes when I hear, this guy's a racist anymore. I just assume, he's probably not. Coming up next, author David Bahnsen has some pointed words for Elizabeth Warren. Hang on, this will be good. Well, joining me now is a man who is clearly not an Elizabeth Warren fan, and Mr. David Bahnsen, author of the book called Elizabeth Warren, How Her Presidency Would Destroy the Middle Class and the American Dream. David, I thought I was the person who liked Elizabeth Warren less than everyone else in the United States of America. Apparently, I have been beaten today. Give it to me. What's wrong with her?
There may be people that dislike her more than me personally, because honestly, my book is not really all that personal. It is true, Jesse, I don't really like her very much, but the book is not about any of the personal issues, which most are very legitimate. I think there are significant questions about her character and her honesty, but I didn't take the low-hanging fruit in writing the book about her obvious and embarrassing lie about getting fired for being pregnant, which never happened, about the Native American Pocahontas mess. My book and the source of my dislike for her agenda is purely ideological. I love our country. I love the aspirational society, the concept of being able to start wherever you start in life and climb to a better place, create a better existence for you and your family. And I think Elizabeth Warren represents a threat to that concept.
Why? How? I mean, look, I think her economic policies are flat out madness, but you clearly know a lot more about that than me. What specifically, what does she want to do that would hurt us so badly?
Let's divide it into two different camps. One is sort of the tone and rhetoric and the kind of personality, the culture of her campaign and of her movement, which I think is distinctly anti-American and is very pro-Marxian. And I don't mean that as a 20th century militaristic communism. I mean a cultural Marxism that believes all of life is a struggle between an oppressed and an oppressor. It's fundamentally untrue. We all are oppressed in life in different ways. There can be bad actors, but the notion that a middle-class person in America simply cannot get ahead because there is an executive at a bank trying to hurt that person is absurd and false, and it creates a narrative that I find philosophically very troublesome. You go outside the philosophical concerns and into just the policies. The notion of believing in a cradle-to-grave statism, a nanny statism, universal preschool, forgiveness of student loans, free college education, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, these are dehumanizing endeavors that strip human beings of their agency, strips human beings of their dignity, and ultimately, besides the fact that they're laughably unaffordable, they are atrocious policy ideas, many of which have been tried elsewhere in the world and substantially failed. This wealth tax idea is her primary bone by which you would pay for everything else. 12 European countries tried it and got rid of it. Sweden, Denmark, France. It didn't raise anywhere near the revenue they said, and it's a completely, on its face, immoral idea.
I want to circle back to what you were talking about originally, cultural Marxism. Now, I look at this and I see Elizabeth Warren as, I believe she's 70 years old, at least she's close to that, a United States senator, a millionaire several times over from what I understand. This is somebody who luxuriates in 2020 United States America. She has a standard of living that would be the envy of 99.9% of human history. How can someone mentally get to the point that they're there and think they're oppressed? Or is this all a game and it's a lie like the rest of her life? She doesn't really think it, she just acts it.
No, I think I wish that I thought it was all fake. Unfortunately, I really do believe there's a significant amount of self-deception, a sort of cognitive dissonance. She was, unlike most Cape Cod cosmopolitan academia liberals, she is from Oklahoma. And so there is this sort of Midwestern streak in her that I think is real. That's where she came up. I think she resented it. I don't think she is proud of an Oklahoman, and ultimately she was in Houston, Texas. I don't think she fancies herself an Oklahoman Texan person, but there is a systemic ability to be disconnected from reality in the kind of Ivy League environment that she's found herself in, law professor at Penn and then at Harvard, where I think you have the ability to be totally lacking in self-awareness. First of all, she's 72 years old, which happens to be the same age as Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Elizabeth Warren. They're all within about 6 months or so of each other in birthdays, which I think is just sort of coincidental but interesting. But you're right, she has a $12 million net worth, and she talks about people with a $12 million net worth as if they are an evil actor in history. And so I wish I thought it was just a matter of rank hypocrisy. It certainly is hypocrisy, but I actually think what's going on is that she believes her wealth is legitimate because she's an academic, and that entrepreneurial wealth is illegitimate because the only way someone could have got ahead in business is if they first stepped on somebody else, that Marxian presupposition.
Why won't Medicare for all work? I mean, I got to be honest, David, it sounds so nice. Everybody gets Medicare. Everybody's covered. No more struggling with health insurance out there. We're all going to be healthy now, right?
Well, I think that it doesn't work in this sense that most people want the ability to have individualized, specialized treatment of their own health needs. And that Medicare for all can only work if all come down to lowest common denominator. All cannot come up to highest common denominator. We cannot provide a Ferrari of cancer treatment to everybody. And so it is not, we all as conservatives focus too often, I think, on just the fiscal insanity of it. The fiscal insanity is a very legitimate argument. There's no reason to not point out that we don't have $30 trillion laying around to pay for it. But I prefer to focus on what it would mean to the quality of healthcare, what it would mean to the types of people that would be interested in even entering the medical profession, what it would do to the talent pool of those who provide medical services in our country. Ultimately, as is always the case with socialized, centralized, collectivist, utopian fantasies, is it brings down everything to lower common denominator. It can never lift things up. It's unaffordable, and it doesn't allow for choice and specificity, customization. I think that individuals that are very rarely sick have different needs than people who are sick all the time. People with pre-existing conditions have a different situation than those that are regularly healthy. It doesn't do anything to, nor did Obamacare, to address the fundamental real issue in American healthcare as a system, not as a political policy, and that is prevention. We simply don't have a healthy enough lifestyle as a society. We do not need the government to be involved in diet and exercise and other things of that nature. Those are the things that we can do to improve national health care. But the idea of taking away people's doctors and payment mechanisms is, again, a collectivist dream. It is not something compatible with the American vision.
Is her platform the future of the Democrat Party? I got to be honest, David, I look at their younger members, especially. You brought up age, and that's a perfectly legitimate thing to talk about. The old moderates, even though she's one of the older ones, the old moderates are dying off, and they're losing, and they're getting older, and Nancy Pelosi can't complete a sentence, and Joe Biden's eyeballs are bleeding. And even if they were fine, they're getting up there in age, and these younger ones are radical, and they seem to mean business. And if this is the future of the Democratic Party, that's kind of scary, even though I'm a card-carrying Republican.
Yeah, I regret it a lot. And I've made this comment over the last couple of weeks in some interviews like this. I honestly, as also a card-carrying and lifetime movement conservative Republican, I want there to be a moderate and reasonable Democratic Party. I'm not interested 100%. In seeing the Democratic Party migrate over to total extremism and radicalism. And I think that Warren and Sanders right now have been very successful, even if neither one of them end up obtaining the primary, the nomination. They have pulled the whole center of gravity for their party to the left in a really profound way. And that's one of the more important things about the book is Warren may end up not being the candidate, and yet what she's done in the party, these ideas are definitely taking hold, and I think will represent a generational struggle for us to fight off this new Democratic Party.
Sadly, I agree with you, and you're right. Look, I want a moderate Democrat Party. I get mad at Republicans all the time. I want the option to have a screw you vote, and the Democrats simply don't give me that option now, and I hate that. David Bahnsen, get out there and buy his new book, Elizabeth Warren, How Her Presidency Would Destroy the Middle Class and the American Dream. I appreciate you, man. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Thanks for having me.
Derek Jeter got the shaft from one writer. I'm going to tell you why it does kind of matter. Hang on. Derek Jeter, a baseball great that needs no introduction from me or anyone else, is going to be a Hall of Famer, but apparently not a unanimous one. All the little sports writers got together and they voted, and there was one dude who voted no on Derek Jeter. This is what Jeter had to say about it.
Derek, congratulations on getting into the Hall of Fame. That's the massive headline. There's a smaller headline that says there was one voter who did not include you on his or her ballot. What did you think when you heard that result?
I mean, I could care less, to be quite honest with you. I mean, it takes a lot of votes to get into the Hall of Fame, and to get that many people to all agree is pretty difficult to do. So, you know, I don't think about that. You know, it's a complete honor to be in the Hall of Fame.
Obviously, last year, Derek, your teammate Mariano Rivera went
Was
in
it
with
you, Jack?
100.
No, it wasn't me.
It was not.
Oh, come on, Derek. You said you weren't following. I wish you were at least following that much.
Derek Jeter has always been a class act. Whether you're a baseball fan or not, I'm not a huge one myself, but I did enjoy watching him play. Always classy. Well done there. We do have a sports writer, Greg Cote, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say the guy's name, says, quote, "It wasn't me, I swear. Derek Jeter got inducted with 396 of 397 cast. Somebody was after a bit of notoriety, and we'll get it. Here was my ballot." And he has a picture of his ballot up there. And even somebody who knows how to play it clean, O.J. Simpson, had something to say about it.
Just got off the golf course and heard something I couldn't believe. Who wouldn't vote for Derek Jeter for Baseball Hall of Fame? This man has been a credit to the game. He's been a credit to sports. He's had a hell of a career. I mean, seriously, take that guy's vote away from him. He should never be able to vote again. He's probably from Boston, but even Boston people appreciate good baseball. I'm just saying, get rid of that guy.
Is there anybody less self-aware than O.J. Simpson? He's still putting videos out there. I give you my word. Actually, I shouldn't give you my word. Oh, whatever. I give you my word. I'll just break it if I feel like it. That's going to be the last time we play you any O.J. Simpson on the show. I just can't believe the guy's still in the public eye. You murdered people. Anyway, allow me just to say this. This wasn't about the Hall of Fame or Derek Jeter. Congratulations to him, all that. This is just a little reminder to you. The higher you rise and the faster you rise, you are always going to have somebody who tells you you stink, who is jealous of you, who tells you you can't do it. Don't spend 1 minute of your time paying attention to your haters. They're haters because they'd kill to be you. I know. Everybody wants to be me. I'll see you tomorrow.